What was a fact that you regret knowing? The existence of dust mites. I have long since accepted that I'm an ecosystem. There was a woman in the 18th century called Mary Toft who stuffed dead rabbits into her vagina and later acted as if she gave birth to them. The doctors believed her till one of them examined, found corn in one of the rabbits' stomachs. It couldn't have been in there. She also did the same with a hog's bladder and a cat's legs. Also with about 15 rabbits. Don't know why I even know this edit. Who the fuck found this helpful? Please don't put rabbits in your vagina or any other hole. The corn in the rabbit's stomach is what tipped them off. If this is true, it's kind of ridiculous. But when I think about it, 18th century equals 1700s equals maybe they called it witchcraft. Pretty crazy what people believed only a few hundred years ago. It's pretty crazy what people believe today. My dad and I both took DNA tests for fun, and I found out we aren't related. 0% match. Life hacks for when you don't want to tell your child directly they are adopted. From personal experience, just how fast pigs process. A corpse had an old goat die in the barn and didn't find her for a couple hours. At the time we had 2 pigs that were a few months old. Didn't realize just how much we had fucked up by letting them be in with the goats that day. Come evening, we go to close up and do the evening chores and find half of a goat spilled all over the floor with our pigs rooting around the guts. And that's the story of how 15-year-old me learned to respect pigs. My mom's cousin interacted with a pig when she was 5. Many years later, it took very many surgical operations from a very talented doctor to make her face look acceptable. And there was no way to restore 2 lost fingers, of course. Bob Ross actually hated his afro. When he started out, it was the cheapest hairstyle to maintain. And once he picked up some traction, it was too iconic to get rid of. This is the saddest thing I've read. I'm not going to share it with anyone. Now this is the burden I carry. About to get sadder. Towards the end of his shows he wore a wig due to balding from chemo. Broke my heart when I read that. Fuck man. We must all take this to our graves. This can't be shared by us in any further fact threads. That my real mum is my sister. I'm adopted. More people jumped from the burning World Trade Center on 9/11 than you think. Do yourself a favor and don't Google it. This is the fact I was going to post. Watching 9/11 on TV. I was too young to know what was going on, but I remember my dad crying and saying they're jumping over and over. Seriously, I was on a 9/11 kick recently, if you want to call it that, and I came across a documentary on YouTube of footage stitched together from the first plane hitting to the final building collapsing, lasting about 1 hour and 40 minutes. No interviews, just cell phone footage, old home cameras and some news footage sprinkled in. There's a section in the documentary of people beginning to jump one after another. It continues on for the rest of the documentary and it's very disheartening. I've seen the same vid. It's so fucked up, but for some reason so fascinating. I think it's important to understand how truly terrifying events like that are. The magnitude of how dirty hotel rooms are. The worst part of this for me is that I worked in housekeeping at a hotel one summer when I was in high school. Maybe that particular hotel was just really good at keeping the place clean and was an exception. But I do have to wonder how much crap I just never noticed because I was a dumb teenager. Chainsaws were originally meant to be a surgeon's instrument to aid in childbirth. No joke, Google it. This is going to give me nightmares until menopause. Wait until you hear about the bandsaw that got used once menopause was over. You are joking, but at the university human cadavers meet the bandsaw regularly. For research purposes you can quite literally send an order for 1 human head, and you'll get it, as long as you have the proper clearances and paperwork. I watched someone jump off the Stone Arch Bridge in Minneapolis, and saw them pee their pants right before they jumped. While living in San Diego I saw 2 jumpers. One from a work campus building, one from a highway overpass. Neither survived. I felt the need to share, because I recently thought about those events and I'm now living in Minneapolis. I couldn't imagine being on the literal precipice. Just all the events that lead those people there is really overwhelming, horrifying, and sad. Actor Daniel von Bargen, Super Troopers. Seinfeld attempted suicide by shooting himself in the temple with a .38 revolver. He was diabetic and didn't want to go to the hospital for another amputation. Unfortunately he survived and was severely wounded. He also was permanently blinded from the gunshot. There's a transcript of the police call that left me shook. He passed away 3 years later from a battle with diabetes. I remember reading this is why some people duct tape the gun to their hand if they attempt suicide in case the first shot doesn't complete the job. Edit. For those asking why the duct tape, I believe the idea is that you can damage the part of your brain that affects your vision, but not die from it. Then you are possibly disabled, blind, and in pain, but unable to finish what you started if you dropped or lost the gun. Not much fun to think about. Had a family friend that failed to kill himself that way, also managed to blow his jaw off. If things were bad before, my friend's brother did this. It went through the bottom of his jaw and out of his mouth. It blew his teeth out, and after surgeries he's fine. The family pretends it didn't happen. Edit. I meant he's physically fine recovery wise, not mentally fine. Edit 2. This is my friend's family, not mine. It's one of the most tragic aspects to these situations when the family out and out refuses to deal with the realities that lead up to the suicide or attempt. The Challenger space shuttle astronauts were most likely alive and awake on the way down. NASA's lead investigator, Robert Overmyer, concluded most, if not all of the crew were alive and possibly conscious during the entire descent until impact with the ocean. After the investigation, Overmyer stated, I not only flew with Commander Dick Scobie, we owned a plane together, and I know Scob did everything he could to save his crew. Scob fought for any and every edge to survive. He flew that ship without wings all the way down. Apostrophe. That you have to clean lumps out from underneath the horse's foreskin from time to time. No I don't. Yes you do. Go do it now. Do it. Clean the foreskin. You work for the cheese factory. An octopus penis is actually one of their tentacles. So if you would go and pet an octopus at SeaWorld or some other place, you could be groping their penis. This happened in Dragon Ball Super. Goku really shook an alien's dick /View 200D. How do I not remember this? Universe 6 vs Universe 7 tournament, when Jacko brought the king of whatever group has a part of to watch. That my father died believing that I was not his child. When my mother told me, it broke my heart and has forever changed my relationship with my family. Edit. Thanks for your interest in my story. It's helped to put answers to some of your questions and to read some of your stories. Why did he believe that though? And because of the wording I assume he was wrong. Cockroaches can fly at 5 km/h and can live 3 weeks without their head. They eventually die of starvation. They have a main brain in their head and also a primitive brain near their abdomen. Cockroaches also predate grass. The last one is not that scary, but kinda scary knowing they've been here so long, so getting them out will be harder and they will probably outlive humans. Edit reworded some stuff. Oh lord, I hate them so much and wish I hadn't read this. Tapeworm faces are absolutely terrifying. Googled it and found pics of tapeworms in people's faces. That was worse JFC. That my dad likely has terminal brain cancer. I was setting up his My chart for him and stumbled upon the information. I lost my dad to brain cancer. Since you said likely, I really hope he survives. If you ever need someone to talk to, feel free to PM me. Thank you. I might take you up on that. Also, I'm so sorry for your loss. My parents are swingers and now well into their 70s. That my girlfriend once sucked her friend's husband's penis when she went to the bathroom yesterday. Don't put yourself through the pain of trying to continue the relationship. I've made that mistake before and it isn't fucking worth it. Leave her and find someone better. Also, the wife needs to know too, unless you don't think she can handle the news. Fuck cheaters. I'm just kinda done with it all. Hey bud, this happened with me in the early zeros. I wound up staying with her and a couple years later we got married. A decade later same shit happened. And now we are divorced. These people don't change. Take care of yourself and find someone who thinks you're absolutely perfect exactly as you are. Someone who doesn't need anyone else besides you. You're worth it. And I wish I realized that 15 years ago. From my first job at KFC, you can't really tell the chicken is spoiled once you put it in the fryer. A friend that used to work at KFC said that they were told not to throw away the spoiled chicken. They would just boil it before frying. Also yeah, no more KFC for me. If you live in a high traffic area, it's almost a promise that the food is as fresh as possible. I imagine things like this usually only happen in very slow towns, where stock is never sold out by the next truck shipment. Just helping you out. If you stopped eating at every place that had some sort of isolated horror story, you'll have nowhere to eat. You're an angel. Just the facts. Your average franchise restaurant is also probably a lot cleaner than your average mom and pop restaurant. This certainly doesn't mean that I'm only going to eat at McDonald's, Chili's, etc. But they've got a lot more resources to throw at keeping things clean. Every time you think of a fond memory, you rewrite that memory in your brain. And with time it will slowly deviate more and more from what you originally remembered, without you ever knowing it. I didn't want to know this. Let me have what I thought was the truth until I fade away, damn it. That people dump their old dogs at the shelter in December and get a new puppy for Christmas. Assholes. Open bracket. This really hurts my heart. I hate people. Just don't get a pet if you don't plan on treating it as part of your family for the entirety of its life. Because your body uses vitamin C to make collagen, which holds your skin together and makes scar tissue. When you get scurvy, your old wounds reopen. So every old wound, or is there like a limit on how far back? No. If you have a wound that has recently healed, it may have some issues. The time frame for scar to heal and reach maximum strength is 6 to 8 weeks. Most scars will only ever achieve 80% of the pre-injury strength of the tissue. If you were to give someone a wound and have them stop all vitamin C intake, i.e. get on a boat and eat porridge the way sailors who would get scurvy used to, you may see them heal the wound only for it to break open again after a couple of weeks. It may also help if someone hit the scar or tried to injure them again at that location, so the scar wouldn't actually reach the 80% maximum strength. It wouldn't be as dramatic, like a Hollywood-esque alien wound explosion that you may be imagining. Aneurysms can happen to anyone at any time for no reason, and can burst at any time for no reason. Can confirm. Partner passed of one earlier this year. We were talking in bed. I went to use the bath. She went to make coffee. Had a crash. Fuck this year. I'm so sorry. Thank you. I'm still working through it. We weren't married, but had a kid together, and small things will trigger my grief in ways you don't expect. Heck, I even sat on this post deciding if I should say anything or not. We call that sneaky grief in my friend group. It can just completely devastate you out of nowhere. It sucks. Thank you for sharing. If it doesn't help you to talk about it, it may help someone going through the same thing to know they are not alone. There was an experiment once where every hour a rat had to choose between getting fed or having the pleasure nerve of its brain stimulated, and the rat being tested starved every time. It's pretty interesting, but also kind of sad. Thanks. Freeman's mind. Yes, but for those experiments, they keep the rats isolated in cages with nothing else to do. So of course they choose that option all the time. This is the important part that often goes ignored. Rats are extremely social and only fall to addiction when in social isolation. When they are in a group, they will happily choose food. Says something about the circumstances of drug use in social mammals. Till I'm a rat. If you are new to Tattletale TV, please subscribe. We have new videos every day. Stay tuned for more coming up next.